Have you ever wondered what it would be like to forgive someone? Silently. No words. No confrontation. Just pure, transformative release. Imagine forgiving without the need for a single conversation. Without a single word spoken to the person who hurt you. It's a practice that transcends traditional forgiveness, where you don't seek validation or closure from anyone but yourself. This isn't about avoiding the pain. It's about healing from it, deeply and completely. Today, we're diving into a powerful Buddhist concept of forgiveness that's far more profound than any apology you could ever receive. It's about finding peace in the silence, and letting go of what no longer serves you, all without a single word exchanged. Stick with me, and I promise this will change the way you think about forgiveness forever. Are you ready to discover the freedom that comes with forgiving in silence? Let's dive in. Silent forgiveness. The act of letting go without confrontation or explanation may seem unusual in a world where closure is often pursued through dialogue or resolution. However, Zen and Buddhist teachings frame forgiveness as a deeply personal act of liberation rather than a transactional exchange with the one who caused harm. This approach challenges conventional ideas of closure and offers profound emotional freedom. In Zen, actions often hold more significance than words. Forgiveness is not contingent on apologies or acknowledgement from the person who inflicted the pain. Instead, it focuses on releasing the burden of resentment that occupies our hearts. Consider the famous example of Nelson Mandela. After enduring 27 years of imprisonment, Mandela emerged not with bitterness but with a commitment to peace and reconciliation. His forgiveness was not about validating those who wronged him but about freeing himself and his nation from the chains of hatred. Mandela's silent resolve demonstrated the transformative power of forgiveness in action. Echoing the principles of Zen, the mirror analogy adds depth to this understanding. Relationships are like mirrors, reflecting our emotions and intentions. When betrayal strikes, the mirror shatters, and attempts to repair it can lead to further harm. Silent forgiveness acknowledges this brokenness, choosing to step away rather than risk being wounded again. This principle can be observed in historical figures like Princess Diana, who gracefully distanced herself from toxic situations in her personal life. Her ability to forgive silently and focus on her humanitarian work illustrated how stepping away from harm can lead to greater growth and purpose. Silent forgiveness also requires confronting the ego's desire for validation. The need for acknowledgement or justice often stems from our attachment to being seen as right or deserving. In relinquishing this attachment, as Zen teaches, we unburden ourselves from the pain of expectation. Resentment is compared to carrying a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. Ultimately, we are the ones who get burned. By letting go, we reclaim peace for ourselves. Ultimately, silent forgiveness is not about condoning harm but about prioritizing self-healing. It allows individuals to move forward unencumbered by the weight of anger, creating space for compassion and growth. Whether demonstrated by global icons or practiced in our daily lives, this path offers a timeless lesson in inner strength and liberation. Buddhist teachings frequently draw wisdom from nature to illustrate resilience and the art of letting go. By observing natural elements, we can better understand the principles of silent forgiveness and emotional liberation. One enduring analogy is the unyielding tree, a Zen story about resilience. In this story, a teacher asks a student to strike a tree. Despite the blow, the tree remains unmoved, it neither retaliates nor complains. The lesson is clear: the tree absorbs the harm but does not let it define or alter its nature. Similarly, Silent forgiveness teaches us to endure life's inevitable wounds without allowing them to fester into resentment. A modern example can be seen in the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. Even in the face of physical violence and humiliation, Gandhi maintained his principles of non-retaliation and forgiveness. Like the unyielding tree, he stood firm against injustice while refusing to harbor bitterness. His resilience inspired millions and became a living testament to the power of silent strength. Another profound metaphor is the flowing river. A branch trapped in a river resists the current, creating turbulence around it. Over time, the branch is inevitably swept away, carried by the flow. The lesson here is that clinging to anger, like the branch resisting the river, leads to unnecessary struggle and stagnation. By letting go, we align ourselves with life's natural rhythms, allowing pain and resentment to dissolve. This principle is mirrored in the life of Eleanor Roosevelt. As the First Lady of the United States, she faced criticism and personal hardships, including betrayal in her marriage. Rather than clinging to bitterness, she chose to redirect her energy toward humanitarian efforts, focusing on improving the lives of others. Her ability to let go of personal pain and embrace the flow of her purpose illustrates the transformative power of resilience and forgiveness. Nature's wisdom also teaches that wounds, though inevitable, are temporary. Trees heal their scars over time, and rivers carry debris away. These processes remind us that forgiveness is not about erasing harm but about releasing its hold on us. Holding on to resentment disrupts the natural flow of healing, whereas silent forgiveness allows us to grow, adapt, and move forward unburdened. By embracing the lessons of the unyielding tree and the flowing river, we can develop the strength to endure life's difficulties and the grace to release them. This harmony between resilience and letting go lies at the heart of Buddhist teachings and offers a timeless guide to inner peace. Silent forgiveness is not just a concept but a profound practice with real-life applications. Through stories of resilience and wisdom, we see how letting go without confrontation can lead to strength and liberation. Story 1: The Betrayed Merchant. In ancient China, a wealthy merchant discovered that a trusted business partner had stolen his fortune. Stricken with anger and despair, he sought counsel from a Zen monk. The monk offered a simple yet profound suggestion: sit by a river each morning, and imagine his anger flowing downstream. Initially skeptical, the merchant complied. As the days turned into weeks, he began to feel lighter. He didn't confront his betrayer or seek revenge but instead focused on releasing his pain. Over time, he forgave silently, recognizing that clinging to anger only harmed himself. With a clear mind, the merchant rebuilt his life, emerging wiser and more resilient. This story echoes modern examples, such as Oprah Winfrey's journey of forgiveness. Despite experiencing a challenging and traumatic childhood, Oprah chose not to dwell on her pain. Instead, she let go, focusing on personal growth and empowering others. Her silent forgiveness turned past hardships into a foundation for her success and influence. Story 2: The Master and the Rival. A Zen master was frequently criticized and insulted by a rival monk. Despite the constant attacks, the master refused to retaliate. Instead, he focused on his practice, maintaining an unwavering sense of calm. His silence was not a sign of submission, but a declaration of strength and peace. Over time, the rival grew weary of his own efforts. Realizing that his hostility had no effect, the animosity dissolved, and the master emerged unshaken. This story is reminiscent of Michelle Obama's famous quote, "When they go low, we go high. As the First Lady of the United States, Michelle faced criticism and scrutiny but chose to rise above it with grace and dignity. Her silence in the face of hostility demonstrated the power of forgiveness and self-respect. Personal reflection: have you ever faced a moment when confronting someone felt futile or counterproductive? Perhaps you were wronged by a colleague, friend, or family member, but addressing it only deepened the pain. Silent forgiveness offers an alternative path. By releasing the need for confrontation, you prioritize your peace and growth. Reflect on whether letting go in silence could have brought you clarity and freedom, transforming anger into wisdom and strength. The philosophy behind silent forgiveness reflects the core principles of Buddhist philosophy, offering a transformative way to navigate pain, relationships, and personal growth. By embracing this practice, we learn to prioritize inner peace and transcend the cycles of suffering. Non-attachment: one of the fundamental teachings in Buddhism is the principle of non-attachment. Anger, resentment, and the need for closure bind us to the past, preventing emotional freedom. Silent forgiveness invites us to release these attachments, not as an act of passivity but as a declaration of self-liberation. For instance, think of Nelson Mandela. After spending 27 years in prison under an oppressive regime, Mandela emerged without bitterness. He didn't seek revenge but instead focused on building a unified South Africa. Mandela's ability to release anger and resentment exemplifies the power of non-attachment and the profound strength of forgiveness. Compassion for self and others: silent forgiveness is not about excusing harmful behavior but about extending compassion to ourselves and those who hurt us. By forgiving, we free ourselves from the burden of anger while wishing others well, even from a distance. This concept mirrors the teachings of the Dalai Lama, who endured the loss of his homeland and years of exile. Despite these injustices, he advocates for forgiveness and compassion toward those who wronged him, believing that hatred only perpetuates suffering. His life illustrates how compassion can coexist with boundaries and self-respect. Impermanence: Buddhism emphasizes the impermanence of all things: relationships, emotions, and even pain. Silent forgiveness acknowledges this truth, helping us let go with grace. Clinging to what is already gone only prolongs our suffering, whereas acceptance allows healing to begin. Consider Steve Jobs, whose life was marked by both immense success and personal setbacks. Jobs faced rejection early in his career when he was ousted from Apple, the company he co-founded. Instead of harboring resentment, he moved forward, eventually returning to lead Apple to unprecedented heights. His ability to let go of past grievances demonstrates the wisdom of embracing impermanence. Silent forgiveness in action: by practicing silent forgiveness, we align ourselves with these philosophical truths. We stop seeking validation from those who harmed us, freeing ourselves from the need for apologies or explanations. Instead, we embrace peace, resilience, and the knowledge that true healing lies within. This philosophy transforms pain into wisdom, empowering us to move forward without the weight of the past. Silent forgiveness is not just an act of letting go, it is a profound expression of strength, compassion, and inner freedom. Walking away with grace: walking away after silent forgiveness can be misinterpreted as avoidance or weakness, but it is often an act of profound strength. It reflects the wisdom to recognize when a relationship no longer serves mutual growth and the courage to release it without bitterness. Breaking free from toxicity: in any relationship, harmony is essential for mutual growth. When trust is broken or the connection becomes toxic, clinging to it can lead to ongoing disharmony. Walking away with grace is not about rejecting the person but about choosing peace over continued conflict. It is an act of self-preservation and respect for the boundaries necessary for healing. A poignant example is Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's decision to step back from their royal roles. Faced with relentless scrutiny and personal challenges, they chose to walk away from an environment that no longer aligned with their well-being. This decision, though controversial, allowed them to prioritize their family and mental health, creating space for a more harmonious and fulfilling life. Letting go of hatred, true silent forgiveness is free from bitterness. Carrying resentment into the future keeps us tethered to past pain, which can erode our happiness and emotional well-being. Letting go with grace means releasing anger and wishing the other party well, even from a distance. Think of former US President Barack Obama's approach to criticism during his tenure. Despite facing relentless opposition and personal attacks, Obama often emphasized unity and progress over retaliation. His ability to rise above negativity without harboring resentment exemplifies the strength of letting go with dignity. The power of graceful departure. Walking away with grace is not an act of defeat but a demonstration of inner strength. It acknowledges that while some relationships are meaningful, they may no longer align with one's values or emotional health. By stepping away, we create room for new connections, opportunities, and personal growth. This path also requires self-reflection. Silent forgiveness and graceful departure are not about proving a point to the other party but about reclaiming peace and prioritizing one's well-being. It is a practice of acceptance, recognizing that some bonds are best left in the past while cherishing the lessons they brought. Ultimately, walking away with grace embodies a commitment to one's own peace and a willingness to let go of what no longer serves, paving the way for a brighter and freer future. Practical steps for silent forgiveness. Silent forgiveness is a deeply personal journey that requires patience and intentionality. By following specific steps, you can release resentment and find inner peace. 1. Acknowledge your emotions before forgiveness can occur. It's essential to process your emotions fully. Allow yourself to feel anger, sorrow, and disappointment without suppressing them. Writing in a journal can be particularly helpful for exploring these emotions in a safe and constructive way. For example, Oprah Winfrey has spoken about using journaling as a tool to process pain and find clarity in moments of betrayal. By confronting her emotions head-on, she cultivated resilience and compassion rather than letting anger dictate her actions. 2. Visualize release. Meditation can be a powerful way to release emotional burdens. Sit quietly and picture the person who wronged you. Imagine the pain they caused as a balloon you hold in your hands. Slowly release it into the sky, watching it drift away until it is no longer visible. This visualization helps detach you from the negativity and reinforces the act of letting go. Famed psychologist Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, wrote about transcending suffering through visualization and inner reflection. Even in extreme adversity, he chose to focus on liberation through the power of the mind. A lesson that resonates deeply with silent forgiveness. 3. Cultivate compassion. Silent forgiveness requires empathy, even for those who have caused harm. This does not mean excusing their actions but recognizing their humanity and potential struggles. By doing so, you shift the focus from blame to understanding. Think of Nelson Mandela, who, after spending 27 years in prison, chose to forgive his captors. His compassion for their ignorance and his focus on reconciliation rather than retribution became a global example of the transformative power of forgiveness. 4. Focus on your growth. The energy spent harboring resentment can be redirected into personal growth and meaningful endeavors. Use this opportunity to invest in your well-being. Set new goals. Or pursue activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Consider Michelle Obama's advice on going high when they go low. In moments of conflict, she has encouraged channeling frustration into actions that uplift and inspire, rather than dwelling on negativity. Finding peace through practice, these steps are not about immediate resolution but fostering an ongoing practice of release and renewal. Silent forgiveness empowers you to break free from the chains of resentment and focus on building a life rooted in peace and personal growth. Silent forgiveness, although often misunderstood as a solitary act, actually carries with it a powerful ripple effect that extends far beyond the individual who practices it. At first glance, forgiving silently may appear as if it's an isolated, inwardly focused action. However, it is through this very silence that profound change occurs, not just within the person doing the forgiving but within the environment and relationships surrounding them. This concept isn't just rooted in spiritual teachings, it can be observed in the behavior of some of the most powerful and influential people in the world. Take, for instance, the example of Nelson Mandela. After spending 27 years in prison, Mandela emerged with a sense of silent forgiveness that was not born out of a need for acknowledgement or closure from his oppressors, but from an understanding that holding on to resentment would only keep him in chains. His decision to forgive, both in public and private, created a ripple effect in South Africa and around the world. Through his forgiveness, he not only healed his own wounds but also contributed to a larger sense of peace and unity that helped dismantle apartheid. His forgiveness was a quiet, profound action that resonated throughout his entire nation and beyond. Similarly, consider the Dalai Lama, a figure of immense spiritual influence. He has spoken on forgiveness many times, advocating for it not as an act of weakness, but as a powerful force that transcends anger and resentment. The Dalai Lama's personal forgiveness for the Chinese government, despite the pain and exile he has experienced, has been a model for millions of people worldwide. His quiet forgiveness has reverberated across generations, bringing people together in common purpose and compassion. It's not just about letting go of the past, but about creating space for the future to unfold with peace and understanding. The power of silent forgiveness lies in its ability to promote inner peace, which naturally radiates outward. When we forgive, we break the chains that keep us bound to past grievances. And this allows us to engage with others in a way that is more compassionate and understanding. This doesn't mean ignoring wrongs or pretending they didn't hurt, but it means choosing not to let those wrongs define us. As we heal ourselves, we create an environment where others can also feel peace. Just like when a calm and peaceful person enters a room, their energy can shift the mood of the space. Silent forgiveness works in the same way. It has the potential to shift the dynamics of entire communities, organizations, and even nations. Ultimately, silent forgiveness contributes to a larger harmony that transcends the individual. By letting go of anger and resentment, we not only free ourselves but also create ripples of peace that can touch the lives of everyone we encounter. The true strength of silent forgiveness lies in its ability to transform conflict into compassion. Its power to create peace without needing to say a word. So, what would it take for you to forgive in silence? To let go without expecting anything in return, without seeking validation, and without a single word being spoken? I invite you to reflect on this deeply personal question. Forgiveness in silence isn't just about the other person, it's about your own healing, your own freedom, It's about choosing peace over bitterness and moving forward without the weight of past wounds. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What would it take for you to forgive quietly and walk away with peace in your heart? Leave your reflections in the comments below. I truly believe that sharing these thoughts with each other can help us grow together. Remember, the path of peace begins with you. So take that first step and see where it leads. Thank you for being part of this journey with me today. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on mindfulness, Zen, and personal growth. Until next time, may you find the peace that comes from within.